Celebrating 41 seasons on the air, Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, farmers tired of being in the middle of ever-increasing trade tensions head to the nation's capital. Is relief on the way?
Got milk? If you drink any number of popular so-called milk products, you may not be calling it that much longer.
Is your water healthy? An expert tells Farm Week it might just be more drinkable than you think.
And a new proposal might reduce the number of semis on the nation's interstates by more than 2,600 a day. Farm Week starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for joining us today on Farm Week. Rising costs and falling incomes brought on by the blow-for-blow trade battle have put rural Americans in a corner. With agriculture square in the crosshairs of nearly every retaliatory move, farmers and ranchers brought their case to Washington. David Miller has the story.
Envoys from several sectors of U.S. agriculture testified before the U.S. House Ways and Means Subcommittee on Trade this week. The committee's consensus was that agriculture is caught in the middle of a tariff battle.
Now, I know that the administration didn't intend for the U.S. agriculture to be hurt or harmed, but the damage is entirely predictable. U.S. agriculture just isn't in a healthy place, and that's putting it mildly.
We are in a slippery slope. We don't know where it's going to end, and we don't really know all the consequences.
In light of pulling out of TPP,
the select panel of witnesses was direct, making the committee aware how each new tariff was putting the squeeze on agriculture.
margins are razor thin to negative currently. So where do we absorb these extra costs? It's really tough to swallow right now.
According to USDA, last year, 43% of the nation's agricultural output was exported to the country's top 3 trading partners, China, Mexico, and Canada. The panel made it clear that with each new tariff, a portion of U.S. market share evaporates.
If our president is successful, and we desperately want and need him to be sooner rather than later, this could be a tremendous opportunity for agricultural trade. But absent a successful outcome, farm and ranch families like ours will suffer.
Those testifying were asked what they thought would be the outcome of a long, drawn-out trade battle.
It also takes out the people that supply those farmers and ranchers, the feed store, the fertilizer dealer, all the people that supply the things that we need to raise the products that we do. So yes, it has a tremendously long tail.
Committee members expressed empathy for the panel, but were divided on who should shoulder the load.
So no, the end result here is to try to get a better playing field for you guys. And I feel your pain, and I want to do anything I can to make it speedy and ameliorate it.
It's going to be a roller coaster, and it has been a roller coaster. And as a rancher myself, who just sold 31 steers today, I understand how the market changes very quickly. And I'm telling you, I am very glad that I have someone in the White House that I trust that's willing to stand up for our farmers.
What Congress is telling you is, despite the fact that it has the constitutional authority to help you, they're not going to help you.
Unfortunately, from my perspective, I don't see it ending very well soon or very safely.
For Market to Market, I'm David Miller.
A late development, the president has plans for what many are calling a mitigation package. Farmers hurt by tariffs on goods like soybeans, pork, beef, and other commodities may be able to dip into a $12 billion emergency aid fund.
The dairy industry could be in for a big win soon. That's because the FDA may be close to a crackdown on plant-based products that for years have been marketed as milk. One label commonly used, soy milk, has been around since the 40s and gained ground in the 70s. Politico is reporting that FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb admits his agency may have been lax on enforcement over the years. He says milk, by definition, comes from a, quote, lactating animal. Plant-based advocates disagree. They say they have a First Amendment right to the term milk. The FDA will take comments on the issue before announcing rule changes.
Water quality in the U.S. has been under scrutiny for decades. That scrutiny spiked 2.5 years ago when a federal water crisis was declared in Flint, Michigan. Still, experts say that American water quality is generally good. One of those experts told Farm Week that hotspots do pop up but are relatively isolated.
By and large part, community systems, public water supplies do a great job of providing good, safe, clean drinking water. A lot of the issues, and I know we were talking about lead earlier, a lot of those issues come as a result of household plumbing, household fixtures, not the water system. We have great water systems that do a great job. We have water operators that do phenomenal things every day to provide us with good, safe, clean drinking water. A lot of the issues are caused by, I'm going to say, people and homeowners themselves, and less by necessarily the water systems.
Tap water can contain bacteria, parasites, chemicals, and other trace contaminants, but they are generally in very small amounts, usually measured in at least parts per million, if not billion, and not enough to hurt the average consumer.
The state of Mississippi has kicked off a new branding program, one designed to showcase its agricultural and commercial assets. It's called Genuine Mississippi and was put together by the State Department of Agriculture. Commissioner Andy Gibson told Farm Week the program has been a hit so far, even catching the eyes of commissioners in other states.
We hosted 15 commissioners from around the South here in Mississippi just last week, and I got to tell you, a majority of them came up to me and said, you know what, we need to do something like this in our state. So my sense is, while some states may have done something like this, there is we're on the cutting edge here, we believe, and I've got to give credit to our marketing department here at the Department of Agriculture and Commerce. They've been working on this for now 3 years.
Genuine Mississippi serves as an economic development tool, one to promote the products grown, raised, crafted, and made in Mississippi. For more information, visit the Farm Week Facebook page or the state website at genuinems.com.
They are graceful, they're versatile, and they're known as the chameleons of the plant world. Here's Gary Bachman with everything you ever wanted to know about one of the most interesting choices for gardeners in the South, the Japanese maple.
There's a few plants with leaves that resemble Japanese maple, but there's no comparison to the real thing. Today, Southern Gardening is visiting our friends Glenn and Libby and admiring their Japanese maples. The Japanese maple is known botanically as Acer palmatum, derived from the Latin meaning leaves shaped like a palm. These small trees are brilliant with their exotic foliage in the spring and summer seasons, many with a fall blaze of crimson, orange, and yellow. I think it's interesting how the foliage of Japanese maple have variations that include 5 to 7 or more lobes, dissected or non-dissected leaves, and having toothed edges. Japanese maples can also be grouped by types of growth habit, upright or weeping. A good example of an upright type is Bloodgood. This selection is one of the hardiest and has attractive burgundy red-lobed foliage that turns scarlet red in the fall. Bloodgood is well suited for a small yard or landscape. I really like this yellow bark selection called Bihu. This small upright grower has bright lime green to chartreuse leaves with red petioles displayed on yellow twigs and branches. The dissected selections are also called lace leaves with their beautiful delicate leaves. The growth habit of the lace leaf types can be upright, but I think the cascading or weeping types are more beautiful. If you don't have a Japanese maple, now's a great time to consider which ones you'd like. There's plenty of time before planting 1 or 2 this fall. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
Japanese maples are one of the best choices for beginning gardeners. Gary says they're showy trees for all 4 seasons, and the best part, they're usually maintenance free.
That's why it would be one of my favorites, Mike, that's for sure. Well, let's discuss the markets for a few minutes here on Farm Week. It is a bit more high maintenance. Here we go. The heat is blamed for some record-setting cattle numbers. An expansion of the state's chicken industry is coming, while a new report reflects the early impact of China's tariffs on U.S. soybeans. The July 1 cattle on feed number was a record for this time of year, an increase of over 4% from the summer of 2017. One trader thinks it's partially because of the heat in parts of the South. She says cattle are coming out of the pastures to the feedlots.
I've had people telling me that ponds are drying up, ponds that maybe in 30 years have not dried up. And so we're seeing a movement of cattle. Another thing I will say is that I think our slaughter has been really largely beef cow, slaughter. And if you took those out, we wouldn't maybe even have a wall of cattle. Slaughter for steers is down this year since January 1st, and heifers higher.
Although it is a record number of cattle on feed, demand for beef is still there. Analyst Angie Setzer describes it as pretty solid here in July.
I think it's helping to eat into that wall of cattle that we keep waiting for. Obviously, we have a reasonably strong supply, but we have very, very strong demand. If we can work through some of these trade hiccups as well, I mean, that's in the face of trade uncertainty, what we're seeing. If we can work through some of those trade concerns and continue on, I think we'll see the beef demand stay pretty strong. And we're going to have this ebb and flow. I mean, seasonally, we do tend to start to look towards the end of grilling season, they say,
Right.
As we work our way ahead. So it is possible that we could start to see a little bit of that demand kind of creep back. So it's something to keep in mind.
Meanwhile, the chicken business continues to have a great run here in the state of Mississippi. This month, a Carthage, Mississippi processor announced it is adding 450 jobs. Pearl River Foods does further processing at its facility that only opened back in 2017. The $2 million plant currently employs 150 people. Well, from chicken to the pond bank now, it's time for trivia. Today's question is about the catfish industry. Here's your first look at it. How long does it take farm-raised catfish to reach market size? Is the answer A, 6 to 12 months, B, 12 to 18 months, C, 18 to 24 months, or D, 24 to 30 months? We'll have that answer coming up for you shortly.
We'll take a bit of a break, but stay close. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, they say it could relieve some of the strain on transportation, combining 2 well-known shipping technologies into something called container on barge. Big rigs can be inefficient. Many are empty on the highway. So are barges. Empties ride high in the water. But now, thanks to a breakthrough, barges might be able to replace 2,600 semis a day on interstate roads. That's coming up on Farm Week.
They say this is the information age, where people can instantly find any answers they're looking for. Yet, so many of us still can't figure out how to feel better. Well, here's a suggestion: eat better. And what better place than a Mississippi farmer's market to help you do just that? Locally grown fruits and vegetables are healthy, picked at the peak of quality and freshness to help you feel better.
Before we get back to the market report, let's take a look at the Farm Week calendar. On July 31st and August 1st, a short but packed course on seed technology in Stoneville, Mississippi. The 2-day course covers seed treatment solutions and products, forage and turf seed applications, labels, coatings, biologics, and more. The registration fee is $100 and includes all materials and meals. For more information, call Daniel Chesser right away at 662-325-4148. Next, a new local flavor website that supports Mississippi food and industry. It's designed by MSU Extension, and it's a clearinghouse of programs and research for local food systems across the state. One calendar item, July 31st, a workshop funding, financing, and grant writing for local food growers and farmers markets. You can find that on the site under upcoming events. You can find the site itself at extension.msstate.edu/agriculture/local flavor. Now, check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
The government's latest Ag Supply and Demand Report is part bad news and part good news this month. On the negative side, the numbers reflect the first impact of the Chinese tariffs on U.S. soybeans. But on the positive side, the report also shows lower ending stocks for corn, which is a positive for that market. And that's where Extension's Josh Maples picks up the story.
The ending stocks number stands out to me as the most headline worthy. So if we look at the 2018-2019 crop year projected ending stocks, we're looking at significantly lower than pre-report expectations were. They weren't necessarily lower than last month's projections, but they're lower than what we thought or what traders thought this month would be. And within that is a lower beginning stocks number and also an increased projected exports. Put it all together, I think this is a pretty friendly report for corn prices.
All right, now as for U.S. soybeans, that story, lower supplies, lower exports, higher ending stocks. Give us some details on that.
Yeah, so the news in terms of soybean markets is pretty much all bearish from this report. Now, the big number that sticks out and that people are talking about the most is that decreased export number. And it's important to note that the July WASDE report was the first one that considered the impact of the potential retaliatory tariffs. So we've talked about the China tariffs before. Soybeans, U.S. soybeans certainly stand to bear the brunt of the impact there because we send so many soybeans to China. And so this report considered that. That's what led to a big part of the reduction in exports. Put all that together and pretty bearish in terms of soybean prices.
Meanwhile, analyst Ted Seifert says time is of the essence as far as fixing that big trade issue with China that is starting to impact U.S. soybeans. Otherwise, there could be even bigger problems down the road.
Fear, uncertainty, these sorts of things, they're dominating the market at the moment. The concern that we have is longer term with soybeans. If we don't get this trade issue fixed in the next year or two, China's going to start building infrastructure other places and start sourcing beans from somewhere else. That'll have a long-term negative impact on our soybean market and our market share. So that's the bigger problem. I think that's kind of what we're concerning ourselves with.
Back to the trivia quiz now as we wrap things up here in the markets. We are featuring catfish this week. It takes farm-raised catfish 18 to 24 months to reach market size. C is the right answer.
These days, margin in agriculture is everything, and with all of the trade tension in the economy, there's not much of that to go around. So, efficiency is what it's all about. And by the way, if you're the average American driver, the strategy you're about to see is one way to eliminate thousands of big rigs on the interstate every day. Here's John Torpy.
For industries making a home along one of the nation's inland waterways, the search for streamlined operations can be hard to find on such an unpredictable road. However, an idea putting two transportation technologies together is gathering some attention. A practice, dubbed Container on Barge, puts two transportation streams together in an effort to move goods more efficiently and cost-effectively.
Is container on barge in our future? It would definitely relieve some of the strain on our transportation system if those goods that come in from overseas could, come upriver to Kansas City, to Chicago, to St. Paul, to Pittsburgh.
Trucking companies have moved goods from dock to warehouse, making sure to minimize costs by trying to never move an empty load. Getting commodities downriver by barge to southern ports for global export is a mainstay in the nation's business mix. However, for years, empty barges made a return trip high in the water. Starting in 2007, inland waterway organizations started experimenting with maximizing the cost of a return load by putting containers on barges traveling to ports upriver.
So we have our goods coming in that way that are currently on road or rail. They come up the river, and then outbound we have grains, we have some of the exports. It would be a tremendous improvement, and in benefit to our economy and our environment, because we've taken goods to the most economic, efficient mode of transportation.
The Inland Ports, Rivers, and Terminals Association touts an environmental benefit to this new navigation technique. If fully implemented, officials say container-on-barge shipping has the potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by reducing traffic on the nation's interstate system by as much as 875 semi-trucks per lane per day. Container-on-barge carriage has received a warm reception in the Port of New Orleans. Grants, subsidies, and Department of Transportation funds have flowed into one of the busiest ports in the country to support startup operations for the young shipping method.
The Port of New Orleans is doing well. We are an unusual port in that we're not married to one commodity or one type of shipping. So we have containers, we have break bulk, we have some bulk commodities as well. We're a multi-purpose landlord port, as we like to say. And for the last year or so, business has been picking up. We've seen increases in our container volumes. We've seen increases in our imported break bulk cargoes. So overall, it's pretty good.
Both the ports of New Orleans and Greater Baton Rouge were deemed attractive testing grounds for the innovative shipping method due to the diverse list of commodities that move through each day. Officials at both ports think the new style of moving goods will be attractive to business owners searching for new ways to streamline the cost of doing business.
A lot of major retailers and a lot of major shippers are very concerned about their environmental impact, and barge transportation uses a lot less fuel. It keeps trucks off the highway. There's no idling time, so to speak, so it's much more environmentally friendly and leaves a smaller carbon footprint.
While moving more goods on the river and less over the road is attractive to some businesses, there are others who point out a less than predictable timetable as a major deterrent for container-on-barge shipping. A 15-tow barge navigating down the Mississippi River from the Midwest can expect the trip to last around 13 days. Once the goods are loaded onto ships, up to 30 additional days are added to the schedule for the goods to reach their global destination, bringing the travel time to over 40 days. If the same products are loaded on a train and sent to the West Coast for export, the trip to the port can take up to 6 days, greatly reducing travel time and improving efficiency for shippers.
Containerized shipping for agriculture, it's something that's growing. The inland waterway system is something that should be utilized more. It's not a congested system, but the problem is it's not a reliable system. Barge transportation, it's good at moving heavy product long distances at an economical price point, but it's not very good at quick turnaround, at transit times, at having a real rapid transit time.
The experiment has gained some traction. As of 2015, the U.S. Department of Agriculture calculated 8% of all waterborne grain exports were shipped in containers. Another aspect holding back the practice from becoming more common is the drag put on shipping due to an aging infrastructure along the nation's inland waterways. For several years, environmental groups, the navigation industry, and agriculture advocacy groups have been raising red flags to Congress over the dilapidated state of the nation's lock and dam system. The unlikely bedfellows hope to get politicians inside the Beltway to shake loose appropriate funding before a catastrophic failure occurs with a devastating economic outcome.
For agriculture and other stakeholder groups, we don't think it's an effective strategy to wait for a catastrophe and then pounce upon that to try to get something done. I think we can do a good job of portraying the importance of it, but then also conveying what the consequences would be if we still have this inaction from Washington, D.C.
While the details are sorted out on infrastructure improvements, shippers and retailers wait for the right confluence of cash and containers before moving further ahead with a new shipping strategy. For Market to Market, I'm John Torpy.
Hard to believe they haven't thought of that before now.
That is right. What is it that they say necessity is the mother of invention? Well, next week on Farm Week, kind of the same idea. The average age of the U.S. farmer, now 68. Many of those who spent a lifetime working the land are retiring without anybody in place to fill the void.
On a rolling Kansas spread, one family is bucking that trend, trading in a comfortable urban life for a livelihood that promises hard work, long days, and a chance to grow a life steeped in tradition. That's next time on Farm Week. We're going to end the show a little differently this week. You've been hearing all about those police department lip sync challenges around the country. We've got one for you from Corinth, Mississippi.
It's not agriculture, but it is a tribute to those men and women on the thin blue line. This video has been viewed more than 13 million times since it came out just a few weeks ago. Enjoy this video, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Is it too late now to say sorry? Yeah, I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say sorry now? Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street light people. Stop believing.